Bono tells protesters capitalism is not immoral, it's amoral. U2 frontman Bono, who y'all know I'm not a fan of. I'm not a fan of Bono. I think he's a grifter. He is buddy-buddy with George W. Bush. His nonprofit agency is kind of a scam. I've looked into it before. It's kind of like Susan G. Komen-esque. It seems like he's only doing it for his own tax benefits. And I personally can't stand his music. Now, I know some people, I've talked to many people who like their music, and that's fine. You're allowed to like their music. And then sometimes those people try to defend Bono politically, and I'm just like, look, you can't, you're not going to sway me politically. If you like the music, that's fine. You're allowed to like them. There's nothing wrong with liking their music. People love their music. I get it. It's me. I just don't enjoy it. A lot of people do. A lot of people don't. I don't. That's me. But you can enjoy their music. You don't have to defend them politically and try to do the mental gymnastics to make it out like Bono's anything more than a warmongering grifter, because he's not. So anyway, back to this article. The social activists, that's kind, urge global business leaders to join the fight against extreme poverty in Africa and AIDS on a panel debating how to end global poverty by 2030, a UN goal. Capitalism is not immoral. Yes, it is. It's amoral. It requires our instruction, Bono said, adding, capitalism has taken more people out of poverty than any other ism. But no, it's... Capitalism itself, how has that taken anyone out of poverty? Capitalism is designed to keep people poor. How can you credit capitalism with taking people out of poverty? No, it's different charities within capitalistic societies that have taken people out of poverty, sure. But just capitalism has taken people out of... Like, that statement doesn't even make sense. Capitalism is designed... That statement just makes zero sense. It does not add up. It gives capitalism credit for something that capitalism doesn't deserve credit for. It's just not... So to say it's lifted people out of poverty, it hasn't. Different charitable acts that might have been done in capitalistic societies have lifted people out of poverty, sure. That's not capitalism. It's not because of capitalism that has happened. It's actually in spite of capitalism that's happened. So that makes zero sense, Bono. Zero sense. And there's a lot of things we attribute capitalism to that aren't necessarily solely because of capitalism. And there's some things we attribute to capitalism that aren't bad things. At least I don't think they're bad things. Markets are not bad things, just in and of themselves. The entrepreneurial spirit is not a bad thing. I think that's a good thing. That's something about America I celebrate. But that's not just exclusively linked to capitalism. You know, those two things, do they kind of share a little bit of attribution if you trace it far enough? Maybe. But that's not linked to capitalism. The entrepreneurial spirit is not exclusive to capitalism. We're sold the idea that it is. It isn't. So capitalism is just a system that benefits a few, and most people get kind of left out. That's just what it's designed to do. So yes, it is amoral. That's true. But to suggest that it has some, like, it's helped us more than any other ism or anything like that, that just doesn't add up. People do charitable things in spite of capitalism, not because of it. Capitalism, by nature, encourages the opposite. So what Bono's saying makes zero sense. But my question for the day goes beyond Bono. And, you know, again, I have a lot of friends that are U2 fans. I respect them. I get why they like... people love U2. I'm not trying... And you might like U2 on the stream. That's fine. I'm not here to shame anybody for their musical tastes. But Bono, as an activist, I'm not a fan of. You look into his company, and it's very much a scam. I mean, I've looked into it. I've seen the numbers. And if he's not cognizant of that, if someone's screwing him over, well, he should pay more attention. He's signing the checks. But I think he is cognizant of it. I think he just likes the tax benefits he gets. And then he takes selfies with George W. Bush, a guy who made millions of dollars singing against war, loves to be buddy-buddy with the guy who likes to make war. I guess so he can write more songs about it. So, I don't respect Bono politically. I think it's hard to justify respecting that guy politically. And if you do, I don't get it, but you can like someone's music. So my question for the day is, do you personally, and I'm asking you guys, do you ever draw the line where if you don't agree with someone politically, you won't go to see them? Or where do you draw that line? For me personally, it depends on the magnitude. And I'll give a few for instances, since this is my question, so I thought about it for a minute. If somebody just disagrees with me politically, like it's a musician whose music I like, and I know that they disagree with me politically, that just face value, not that big of a deal. And I'm still fine buying a ticket to go see them. It's a free country, or we're told. It's a kind of free country. I respect people's opinions. I respect people's views, even if I strongly disagree with them. Again, there's exceptions, of course, but generally speaking, if you just have a point of view that's not harming anybody else but disagrees with me, I respect that, and I want to hear from you. I'm not going to exclude anybody that doesn't share my point of view and my point of view only, because then I'm just kind of creating a vacuum, right? So, for instance, I can give Aerosmith. I enjoy Aerosmith's music. A lot of people don't. You might not. I enjoy their music. They're a classic rock band I enjoy. Joe Perry votes Republican. It's sad, I guess. I disagree with him, strongly disagree with him. But if I had a chance to see Aerosmith, would that be a factor where I wouldn't go? No, not really. Whether I buy that ticket or not, he's probably going to vote the way he's going to vote. And that's it. Nor do I feel that that is so. Now, where it becomes a little different is, say I know, and I can't think of a particular, for instance, off the top of my head, say an artist, I know they go out of their way to support certain things that I have a big problem with. Like say that they go out of their way, to support conversion therapy. I'm just saying the first thing that comes to my head. Or they go out of their way to support, people that are demonizing pro-choice groups, or they go out of their way to support, really fringe conservative think tanks or something like that, then it becomes a little different. If it's just one of those things like, hey, they disagree with me because they know that the Republicans protect their tax bracket more, so they vote that way, that's one thing. If it's they go out of their way to support a lot of causes that I'm really strongly opposed to, then it becomes a little tougher for me as an individual, because I'm thinking, gee, I'm giving money to that. So, to me, it depends on the magnitude, and that's kind of my answer. It depends on the magnitude. If it's just, I disagree, all right, that's not a make it or break it for me personally. But if it's like they support this, and this, and you're strongly opposed to that, then I might have a problem buying a ticket. Well, I mean, I would have. There's no might about it. I would have a problem buying a ticket, and I likely wouldn't. And I'm trying to think of, I guess Ted Nugent would be a good, for instance, where it's like that guy, I can't justify, but I don't like his music anyway, so I don't really know. I guess that's one advantage. A lot of the artists that I'm like strongly opposed to politically, in most cases, I don't like their music anyway. So it's not really, like a lot of the pop country stars and stuff, like I don't like that music anyway. So doesn't really matter. Ted Nugent, Kid Rock, don't like their music anyway. U2, don't like their music anyway. So it's not really that big of an issue for me. I can't think of any, for instance, where it's like there's a band or an artist. I'm trying to think now. I think, well, the Beach Boys. Mike Love is a Republican. But, I mean, it's the Beach Boys. And I don't know if all the band shares that view or if it's just him. Like, I have no idea. And at this point, if you go see the Beach Boys, you're just seeing a Beach Boys cover band with Mike Love anyway. I mean, it's all new members. So I don't know if I would go out of my way for it one way or another. So I guess my answer to my question is it depends on the magnitude. Let me see what your guys' answers are. And I know this one guy. I remember this one guy in Nashville. And this was in Nashville, Tennessee, mind you. Lovely city. I miss it. And he told me, he doesn't like to do business with anybody that doesn't share his political views. He doesn't like to support any artist. He doesn't like to do business with anyone. He doesn't like... And I'm like, good luck with that. I mean, first of all, you live in Tennessee. That's not the bluest of the blue places in the world. And, I mean, what do? Do you walk into an establishment and go, excuse me, I need to take a poll. What are your political views? Because I might have to buy a cup of coffee elsewhere. So what are your views? What's your take on how'd you vote for the past 20 years? Do you really... I mean... I applaud your dedication, I guess. I think, you got a problem if you do that. I mean, how do you implement that? Excuse me, I got to take a poll. Do you agree with my political views? I don't. Anyway. So again, I guess it depends on magnitude. Keen says, I guess I'd see Willie Nelson just because of his politics. I like Willie Nelson. I like that about him too. Stranglehold, still would never pay to see him. Metallica, I don't know Metallica's politics. I'm assuming they're to the right. But I don't know for sure. I don't know Metallica's politics. Chris Wynn says, I actually may start listening to Cardi B after she showed her political insight. Yeah, I read about that. Let's see. The Vandals played in Iraq for the troops. People got mad at them for that. I don't know why people would get mad at them for that. I mean, when you go overseas to perform for the troops, that doesn't mean you support the war. In most cases, it's actually quite the opposite. So I don't know. I never got to perform for the troops before, but if I ever had an opportunity to, or if I ever was approached to do it, I certainly would. Because, that's... Yeah, those are apples and oranges. I don't know why anybody would get mad at them for performing for the troops. There's some troops over there that are probably fans of the Vandals. And, it's not their fault what's going on. Joshua Pegg, Elvis Costello Live was one of my most memorable shows ever. I heard he kills it live. Statutory likes Nugent. Edwin says, I went to 9 U2 shows, the last one 2010, and they were not good. The last 2 albums suck, and now this right-wing capitalism crap. I don't like U2 anymore. Daniel, still love the Smiths no matter what crazy shit Morrissey says. I'm with you there, actually. It depends on the quality of music and the severity of the artist's position. But Daniel, we've talked about this before. If it's Morrissey you're worried about, who's really good is Johnny Marr. Politically, and I'd rather see Johnny Marr than Morrissey anyway. So there, solve that for you. Let's see. Some of you guys are saying all troops are volunteers. I strongly disagree with that statement, and I think you should think about what you're really saying when you say stuff like that. Go tell people in areas that are getting crushed economically that pretty much had nowhere else to go that they're a volunteer. Let's see. Video Game Vision Quest says, I just looked up Metallica. James Hetfield approved of the U.S. using Metallica music to help torture prisoners. That makes me sad. Me too. Again, although Metallica, something else I never got. I don't get Metallica. Daniel, he played guitar for Modest Mouse for a while, right? I'm assuming you mean Johnny Marr, and yes, I did know that. So yeah. And Johnny Marr's amazing, I agree. So I think we're kind of all in the, it sort of depends camp. Not depends the diapers, depends it depends on the situation. Chris Wynn says, Army recruiters show up all the time at my community college I went to, offering free college and a great career. Yep. I still like Crass, says Omar, and their songs bash both the left and the right. Yeah, Crash is kind of like... Crass is kind of... They're outside the system in pretty much every way. I saw that dude doing a solo acoustic set. It was really cool. I saw him do a solo acoustic set in Las Vegas. It was pretty fun. So yeah, I know I'm not a U2 guy, and sometimes people say I'm too hard on U2, but Bono really bothers me because, you know, he makes it out like he's and his causes sound very noble. Like I'm not against the causes he talks about. Well, I mean, capitalism and George W. Bush, I'm against that. But I mean, the causes he talks about is in poverty and stuff like that. I think all of those are noble causes. But his agency, his establishment, is kind of more Susan G. Komen-esque about it, meaning they're actually sort of just exploiting something for their own gains. So, anyway, and Vlada says, Bono, Clear Channel's best friend. Yeah. And how arrogant do you have to be to impose your album on people? You guys remember when that happened? Do you guys remember when U2 forced their album on us? When you got, like, the new phone or whatever? Like, I think it was iPhone. They just put that album on your phone. They forced their album on you. And then it would autoplay. The album would autoplay on your phone. Like, I would plug my phone into the car, and then when I'd unplug it or plug it back in, all of a sudden this shitty U2 music's playing, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And it's not easy. It took me a while to figure out how to get that damn thing off my phone. Do you guys remember that? Do you guys remember when they did that? Tim says he's still trying to delete it. Tim is still trying to delete it. Stim. That's a combination of Sting and Tim. And by the way, speaking of Sting, there's a really funny George Carlin bit about Bono and Sting. I recommend you check out. I'm not going to try to do it justice. Just YouTube it. YouTube, George Carlin, Bono, Sting. It'll come up. Let's see. Susan G. Komen-esque, you're not going Dennis Miller on us with those deep references, are you, Ron Placone? David, I gotta say, comparing me to Dennis Miller really hurt my feelings. You know what's funny, though? We're both from Pittsburgh, Dennis Miller and I. We're both from Pittsburgh, quite on different sides of the fence. And if anyone didn't catch that, which I understand, Susan G. Komen, they are the leading breast cancer organization in the United States, which fighting breast cancer, very noble cause. However, they're not a very honest institution. About, I think, maybe 18%, and I think that's a high number, but only about 18% of their money goes towards actually helping breast cancer. The rest goes towards people's salary and towards administrative costs. And you break down the numbers, and pretty much everyone that's looked into it has concluded they are a predatory company, meaning they are exploiting cancer to profit their own, to pad their own pockets, because they get exorbitant salaries, more than they should be getting. So U2's organization, similar. And yes, Jenna, Dennis Miller is from Pittsburgh. And keep in mind, he was a big lefty at one point. Then 9/11 happened, and he went nuts. So, yeah, Dennis Miller is from Pittsburgh, just like myself. So, yeah, I think that's the only thing Dennis Miller and I have in common.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and